All right, welcome back. This is Tech Time. I'm Dan.
And I'm Matt Harker, and I am in the beautiful tiny town of Vilna, Alberta. They boast the largest mushrooms in the world, and it's true. I am actually looking at the largest mushrooms in the world right now.
So what are you doing over there, Matt?
Well, this is my vacation. I decided to take my two boys, and we're traveling around to every tiny little roadside stop that is along our way. There's actually 270 stops I mapped out in Alberta, and I only have time to hit 10 a day, so we're trying to hit 70 in a week. We saw the largest pumpkin patch today in Smoky Lake. We're going to see the biggest pierogi right after this. We're going to leave Vilna and go to Glendon. And then there's actually a UFO landing pad in St. Paul.
Tell me about it.
Well, apparently they've declared the airspace above it intergalactic space. So no matter where you come from, you are allowed to come directly down above this landing pad without breaking any laws.
So is it like Roswell? Did they have some kind of a UFO sighting back there in the 70s? Do you know?
You know what? I'm going to find out. But stay tuned. I think there's probably something up on that.
So I got to tell you about my week. I actually got trapped in an elevator in Irvine.
Ooh, high-tech problem.
It was a high-tech problem. We were at a pool party, and we were going down from the 5th floor, and all of a sudden the elevator crashed, and the roof, all of the dust came down from the roof on us, and apparently what had happened was the catch system on the bottom had caught us because something had gone wrong, and we were stuck in there for 30 minutes. There were 2 people having panic attacks, and when the fire department finally got us out...
Were they strangers in there with you?
You know, thankfully they were just friends. But when the fire department finally pulled us out, the elevator was halfway. So I jumped out as fast as I could because I did not want to get sliced in half in case it started going again.
I wouldn't want you to be sliced in half either.
There'd be no podcast.
There would be no podcast. And you know what's funny about that, Dan? And this is something that we haven't talked about yet. It's self-driving cars and how they tie in with elevators. Have you heard about the 2 different theories about self-driving cars and how one's called the elevator theory?
I didn't pay attention in statistics class, so I'd like you to tell me.
All right. It was fascinating. So the elevator theory is elevators, when they first came out, were just scary. People were afraid of them. They didn't want to get cut in half, just like you didn't want to get cut in half. And it was this new high-tech thing. They had elevator operators. Somebody was pushing the buttons. They were trained. They knew all about the elevator. And it was scary because these elevators, when they originally were made, were basically boxes made out of frames, and you could totally fall out, and it was scary. So what they decided to do to stop people from freaking out on elevators is they put walls around you so you couldn't see out. And then they gave you a big red button that you could push to say, whoa, stop me now. And then they came up with elevator music. But the idea is you get in the elevator and you push a button and then you just go.
So how does that relate to self-driving cars?
Well, this is Google's idea for self-driving cars. So what they want, and you'll see it if you look at some of the videos of their self-driving cars that they were working on, is it was the elevator technique. You get in the car, you can't control the car. There's a big red button that you can push if you need to say, whoa, I'm getting scared now. But it's basically get in, go for a ride, get out. While you've got what Tesla's doing, which is more of an automated pilot type situation where you can take the wheel, take control. But then it's also been shown that that can be dangerous because if you're not really paying attention to what's happening on the road, you can overcorrect when the autopilot would have saved you.
Especially if you're going 85 miles an hour and you try to take over all of a sudden, right? That's interesting. Do you think they'll try and block out some of the windows too?
I don't know. The biggest thing about it, though, is it seems like Google is kind of slowing down on the automated vehicle type of thing. I haven't heard any news for quite a while on it. So something to research, and perhaps one of our listeners could enlighten us as to what Google's doing lately.
Hey, that's interesting. I got to tell you about my Nest. So I got my Nest on Sunday and installed it. And at first I was really excited about it because it looks really cool and helps control the temperature in my house. But then my fan wouldn't turn off. So even after the air conditioner was done cooling the house, the fan kept going and going. And so I ended up having to call the company, and they walked me through it, and we tested every single wire behind the Nest. It felt like I was defusing a bomb. You know, they're like, get the red wire, then move the blue wire this way.
Did you have MacGyver music playing in the background?
There was MacGyver music playing, MacGruber. But thankfully we sorted it out, and it seems to be pretty cool so far.
Yeah. Well, I have another friend who had a similar problem with a Nest. And they have their air conditioning going, and the Nest is upstairs. Okay. Now, the problem is with air conditioning is if you have a basement, cold air drops, right? And so his basement would absolutely freeze, and the Nest wouldn't know it. And what he's done is he's figured out a way to program his Nest, and I'll have to ask him what he's doing. But it turns the fan on to recirculate the cold air in the basement and bring it upstairs. And so that saves him money on his electricity bills.
So the Nest must have a thermometer in it, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah, but you can get additional thermometers or additional Nests that can chain up to it that you can place in the basement.
I wanted to bring up a cool study this week. Did you hear about this? They say that people in the gig economy, so people that are Uber drivers, people that do Lyft, they're more likely to crash than an average person.
Why is that?
Well, they say research from the University of the College of London, UCL, indicates that 42% of gig economy couriers and taxi drivers have more vehicle damage. And they say it's because they want to speed to be able to drop their patron off faster. They want to look at the phone while they're driving. And so they're just more distracted drivers. Have you taken an Uber in Edmonton yet? Is it up there?
It is up here. Yeah, actually, I have good friends that take Ubers all the time. I personally haven't had the need to take an Uber yet. But how about you? Have you been in an Uber?
All the time. Mostly I take it to go to LAX because it's the worst to ask a friend to drive you all the way down there. But one interesting thing is you actually have a number. And so you rate each other. You rate the Uber driver and then they rate you.
Oh.
And so my number is a little bit lower than it should be. The phone that I used to have used to say that I was like a block away every time I would hail an Uber. And so they'd get frustrated when I wasn't at the exact spot. But it kind of reminded me of that Black Mirror episode. Did you see that one? I think it's season 3, episode 1, where she gets that social media rating.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic. So I just have a question. She spazzes at the end. Did you become an Uber diva, Dan? Is that why you got marked down?
I think so. I think out of 5 stars, I'm like a 4.1. So, but now that I know they're more likely to crash, maybe I'll just drive myself to LAX.
Yeah, I have some friends who actually became Uber drivers, and I was surprised to see them driving around in this fancy brand new car, because I guess you have to have a certain level of car to be accepted. So it's got to be newer and it's got to be a pretty nice car. And I was impressed. I said, what are you doing? How'd you afford this car? And he said he was an Uber driver. So, I hope they can make some good money on it and have a nice car out of it as well.
I hope so too. And another thing that interests me about where you're at is ice, right? Like when I drive on ice in Canada, I know how to pump the brakes. I know how to correct the steering wheel, but I might feel a little bit awkward with someone else that I don't know driving me slippery roads.
Right. Yeah. I've never had that experience, even when I've taken regular taxis.
Oh, okay.
So you would hope that they would have the experience to be able to handle the ice. So, Dan, I've got another one here that I'm curious about. there's an article that says Chinese internet users are now over 800 million.
That's insane.
That's huge.
Because I think the United States only has something like 330 million people, and what does Canada have, like 33 million?
We're another 30, yeah.
So that's a lot of people using the internet. So that's more people than in the United States, Indonesia, and Brazil combined, and those are huge places. So obviously that's a great opportunity for high-tech companies. I know there's a lot of great companies coming out of China right now. Like, have you heard of WeChat before?
Yeah, I have. It's kind of like a text message based app out of China, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like Messenger. There's been a few people here that have actually tried to get me to download it. Like, oh, you should download WeChat so we can talk. And then I say, how come I can't text you or just, Messenger you on Facebook? So that's funny. And then have you heard of Weibo? That one's huge too in China.
Oh, yeah. Weibo's huge. I've heard all kinds of things about Weibo, especially the conspiracies. Man, I sound like a conspiracy theorist. I talked about it last week too. Well, Weibo's all about Big Brother, and the Chinese government owns a big stake in it.
I didn't know that.
And they're listening in.
Well, it's huge. And actually last night I was at Disneyland, and the girls in front of me on Splash Mountain were using Weibo like crazy, posting. And it looks like a lot of fun. I can't understand any of the characters, but they were having a great time on it. So that's interesting that the government would look in on that. I had a chance to go to China a few years back in 2009, and it was interesting. Everything was blocked. I couldn't get on Facebook. I don't even think I could check my Gmail when I was at the hostel. Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah. What do they call that? It's one of the curtains.
The Great Firewall of China, right?
Yes, the Great Firewall of China.
So I thought that was interesting, but it's great that they have a lot of users. We might actually be trying to use their things in 10 years if they have 800 million people, right? So
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, all those cyberpunk movies, they're all going to come true. It's all going to be about China.
Well, I'll start learning my Mandarin now. Did you hear NVIDIA's got their new graphics cards out in September?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw they were announcing the new graphics cards. They've got some pricing out there. I think $600 for the RTX 2070, $800 for the RTX 2080, and it looks like $1,200 for the RTX 2080 Ti. So big bucks.
Yeah, how cool it would be to have the 2080 Ti.
Yeah.
That would be an awesome card to have.
What's the application for a card like that? Are you really just trying to get some crazy refresh rates in VR with that? Or is there something else that we're trying to do?
Well, I know they say there's built-in support for real-time ray tracing. Like, I remember back when I was in college, I would do a little bit of ray tracing, and you would hit the compile button, and it would literally take hours. And you'd come back and you'd see your movie. But, it sounds like they can do it in real time now with this one.
Is that all of them or just the 2080 Ti? Because from what I read, it sounds like all of these cards have real-time ray tracing.
That's a great question. I think probably the 2080 Ti is just a whole lot more horsepower. And if you like to do things like Bitcoin, if you like to bit mine, any kind of the cryptocurrencies, I'm sure the more horsepower you got, the faster you're going to do it.
Well, speaking of that, I'm looking at the prices for these cards, and they're outrageous.
Yeah.
Now, I know that these prices got inflated significantly last year when Bitcoin was doing its big march and everybody was getting into all the different types of coins. And do you think that these prices reflect that? Or do you think that these prices could actually drop since Bitcoin is not really as big of a deal as it was last year?
I'm really hoping they drop because I would love to have one of these cards. It would make life a lot of fun. I remember back in '94 when I was saving up my paper route money, I bought a Mach 64, an ATI video card, and it just made playing Doom and Wolfenstein so much better. And that new 2080 Ti is going to make all of these games a lot better now, so it's pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I heard one of them even has 3 fans in it, which I've never seen before.
It's probably pretty loud, right?
Yeah.
Now, I also heard Gmail has a new feature that you can now self-destruct email from your phone. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, that's great. So it sounds like you can set a time period for it to expire. And so if you want to send some sensitive information that you don't want to stick around in the cloud forever, because I don't know if you're like me, but I have Gmail emails in my Gmail from back when I first signed up.
Me too.
And I mean, that's there forever. So, it allows you to set these time limits and then the email will delete.
Well, that's great because that covers your butt for a lot of things. And is there any possibility to delete things that you accidentally sent to somebody?
I've looked into that with Gmail, and perhaps it's going to show up in one of these future updates. But right now, there's nothing like it. Like you can in Outlook, Microsoft Outlook, if you're on the same server as everybody else. So at work, if I accidentally send an email and I forgot the attachment, which is really embarrassing, and I do it all the time, then I can just retract the email, put the attachment. In Gmail, I'm always like, oops, sorry, everybody, my bad. And then I send it with the attachment. But, I've also seen some really funny things that this self-destructing email would be good for.
Let's hear it.
Like if you could automatically set it up that if you're sending an email from 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, that, it will self-destruct in 3 or 4 hours, because you probably shouldn't be sending emails at 2 or 3 in the morning.
You're not in the right mindset, right?
Well, I have a coworker who went on a very drunken, angry rant in an email once and sent it out to everybody in the company.
Oh, no.
And he ended the email with, "And I'm not drunk." And of course he was.
Of course.
And it's just, he wishes that email self-destructed, because when he got to work, he was self-destructed and shown the door.
Oh, no. Did they fire him?
Oh, yes. And rightly so. I took over his office, and that dude was doing weird things at night. I found handprints like up in the top corner.
What?
Not like, I don't know if he was walking on his desk and leaping, but like there was like handprints and footprints on top of the furniture. It was bizarre.
That's insane.
Anyways,
and
yeah.
Hopefully Gmail will allow us to delete any kind of random rant we go on in the middle of the night, right?
Yeah, that's right. We should just don't drunken email anybody.
And don't stand on your desk and leap in the middle of the day either.
Danger.
Some people were saying, though, that it doesn't go far enough.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're saying that there's no end-to-end encryption with these new Google messages that self-destruct, and that sometimes they'll ask for your cell phone number to decrypt a message. And a lot of privacy advocates are saying, should we really be giving our phone number to Google every time, So
yeah, they already know it.
They know it all. They've got all of our. They're probably listening to this and watching us right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of watching, I hear Netflix has something going on that's pretty crazy recently, right?
Yeah, actually, these are two things, Netflix and Twitch. So let's talk Netflix first, but it sounds like Twitch is doing something similar. So Netflix has been doing a pilot project where they've randomly chosen people throughout the world. It sounds like you didn't have a choice. Mm-hmm. And if you're binge watching a show, all of a sudden you'll get an advertisement for some of Netflix's original content. Now, I personally, if it's geared towards me, I'd be like, oh, cool, that's interesting. Maybe I do want to see this show. But on the other hand, I'm paying a premium price for Netflix. I actually pay for one of the higher tiers because there's so many in my family who want to be on Netflix at the same time. Mm-hmm. But, I thought I was paying for no ads.
Now,
so you can see why people are upset.
Is this in the middle of, like, you're watching one episode and then in the middle and then into the next episode, suddenly you see an ad right when you're watching and binge watching?
That's what I've understood it to be. So while it's switching, and sometimes it says, hey, are you still watching? Because some people fall asleep or whatever. Yeah. I think it's around that time when it would normally ask, are you still watching, that you'd suddenly see an advertisement for some of their original content.
Oh, that'd be brutal. Because you just want to get to the next episode typically, right?
Yeah, if you're binge watching.
And you're right about the money. It's annoying because they raised the price, and so now I'm paying more, and suddenly it's turning into Hulu where there's advertisements. What's up with that,
Yeah.
right? Um,
So Twitch, I mentioned this one earlier too. Twitch Prime is ending their ad-free viewing, and this actually would make me even more upset because if I'm watching Netflix and I'm binge watching, those ads should only come up in between episodes. It's not going to interrupt anything that I'm watching. But
right.
on Twitch, you're usually watching one of your favorite Twitch stars do something, like they're playing a game or they're creating their cosplay outfit, and then all of a sudden you're going to be getting an ad. Now, I'm not sure exactly how it's lining up, when the ads are going to hit you, but you also pay for Twitch Prime. So you can
Oh.
go in and you can watch Twitch for free, but now even with Twitch Prime where you're paying, you're going to be seeing advertisements.
So it's going to just interrupt the feed.
That's my guess. Perhaps they'll execute it a little bit more elegantly than that, and I would hope so. Maybe the Twitch star will have certain times where they'll pause for ads because I believe that they have ad sharing. So then they'll be able to get some of the money for the ads that people are watching. I'm hoping it will be more elegant than all of a sudden, they're about to do something amazing on Fortnite and then boom, here's an advertisement for Downey, right?
Yeah. We all get so used to having these free feeds. Have you tried HQ Trivia out yet, Matt? It's like a game show for your phone.
You know what? I saw somebody playing it. I haven't actually done it myself. Is that the one where you can win money?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And here in the States, I have a few friends that are very, very smart. They both got like the top grade for their ACT test in high school.
Yeah.
So they play this kind of for fun. And they've won, I think, like $26 over it. Because if you end up winning the entire game, they split the $25,000 amongst all of the people that won. So you get like a few bucks. But it's still exciting that it's real money, right?
Yeah, that is exciting.
The reason why I brought it up, though, is because for the past month, we've all been playing it without any advertisements. Well, they're going to start doing ads now. And
Oh no.
I mean, you can't expect things to stay free forever, right? I mean, what if we have ads in this podcast? I mean,
Yeah, actually, we should have ads in this podcast. Anybody who's listening, we are capitalists through and through. We would love to peddle your wares.
That's right. Speaking of peddling people's wares, let's talk about Google Chromecast here. I hear they've got a new one with Bluetooth out, right?
Well, it's coming soon, and, it's not that exciting. It's not a huge change, but it is going to be nice to have Bluetooth. And so you'll be able to hook up to it with any type of phone just using your Bluetooth. And they're also improving the Wi-Fi sensor and receiver, which specifically around the 5 gigahertz band. So that
Cool.
should really improve your wireless sending and receiving of information.
I've never understood Chromecast, why people would get excited about it. I use a Roku myself, and I've used an Apple TV before. Chromecast seems cool for people that know what they're doing, like they can pull up Netflix from their phone or from their laptop, but could you see mom and dad doing that?
I could see Dad, but not Mom. I spent probably an hour on the phone with Mom trying to explain to her how to log into iTunes. And I was ready to just run down the road and log in for her because it was the most painful experience of my life helping her. So, Dad, yes. Mom, no. But I have a Chromecast.
Do you like it?
I'm on the fence. I got to tell you, if it was easy enough for my youngest, who doesn't have a phone, to be able to watch something. I mean, we have a Google Home, and so he could tell Google to watch Dinobots or whatever he wants to see, and it would work. But he has no way of controlling it. So he can't pause, he can't fast forward, unless he uses his voice, which he really hasn't started doing. And so he usually just gets on the PlayStation 4 and watches Netflix there.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about Motorola's new P30. It's a pretty cool phone coming out, but it's been getting a lot of backlash. Have you heard about why?
Well, isn't that the one that looks like the iPhone 10?
It's ridiculous. It looks exactly the same. It has the same notch on the top. They even
Really?
went so far as to put almost the exact same wallpaper. So it's like basically the same phone.
Oh, wow. I would expect that out of China. I would not expect that from Motorola.
My question is, do you think that the iPhone 10 is a good design?
Personally, no, I don't like it at all. And I'm not going to say I'm anti-notch. I'm not at all. I came really close to buying the OnePlus 6, which has a notch. I really like the Essential phone, which was the first phone I ever saw with a notch, and it's just got a little spot for the camera.
Wow. Did the Essential phone come out before the iPhone 10?
Yes, it did.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, here's a little thing for our listeners. I believe Amazon, American Amazon, has the Essential phone on for something like $250.
Oh my
Might
gosh.
even be 230. It is cheap, cheap, cheap. It's a great phone. It's got an 835 processor. It's got decent RAM. It's got 2 cameras on the back. The only problem with the phone is I don't think Essential's long for this life. I think the company's going to fold. But
Yeah.
you do have a pure Android or almost a pure Android experience with it. It's already on Android Pie.
Cool. Have you tried
Yeah.
Android Pie out?
No, I haven't. Unfortunately, my phone right now is the Samsung S Plus, Galaxy S Plus, and we all know Samsung's not very good at giving us updates.
Oh,
If I
no.
had gone with the OnePlus 6, like I was originally looking at, I could have been in the beta program. But I'm okay to wait. I like the phone I have.
Oh, that's good to hear. I also heard that they might come out with a new MacBook and a new Mac Mini. Have you heard that from Apple?
Yeah, that's actually kind of exciting. We haven't had a new MacBook in a long time, so it sounds like it's going to have thinner bezels. They're going to try to bring it up into where all the other laptops are. They're going to make it a Retina display. So, I mean, how long's Retina been out? 5, 6 years? It's
Yeah.
about time that they put it on their cheapest laptop. And then the Mac Minis are kind of cool. Have you ever seen a Mac Mini?
I actually have one. I have a Mac
have
Mini
one?
from 2009. It's no longer supported by Apple. I actually
Yeah.
do a lot of coding. I make games for the iPhone and for Android. And it
Yeah.
is so frustrating to compile my games on that 2009 Mac Mini. I just want to throw it out the window every time. So this year, I actually saved up for about 3 or 4 months to get the new MacBook Pro. And the whole time I was crossing my fingers that the original MacBook would come out for a new version so I could get it cheaper. But as of now, it's still not out, and I just couldn't wait any longer. I bought the MacBook Pro.
So you've had your MacBook Pro for what, 2, 3 weeks now?
Uh-huh.
If you had known, would have you waited?
Because I do so much with coding and compiling with my iPhone games, I'm glad I bought the more expensive model with the faster processor. It really just so snappy. It compiles things so fast.
I got to tell you, I'm the same way. I'm like, if I'm going to spend money on something, I might as well get something great. Drives my wife crazy, but it's the way I am.
But if you're a regular user, if you're just using it to browse Facebook, the internet, occasional Spotify, type a paper here or there, I think a regular MacBook or a MacBook Air would be fine.
Absolutely. So let's talk about somebody who's not doing fine right now.
Who's that?
How about Elon Musk? Have you watched him online or on Twitter?
He's kind of notorious here in Los Angeles. I think he lives over in Bel Air, and he's
yeah.
kind of like a superhero. He's always, making new cars or building new tunnels. He's kind of exciting. What's going on with him?
Well, he's got some not so good stuff going on, but you know what? I got to tell you, I think Elon Musk was great. I mean, I still think he is. The superhero persona is perfect for describing how people see him. I even was watching Star Trek Discovery a little while ago, their first season. They even made reference to Elon Musk as one of the greatest inventors of all time.
Is that the new one on CBS Access?
Yeah, it's that one. It's a great show, and we should probably have our own Trek podcast because I could talk all about it. And the Orville, by the way, but I digress. Let's talk about Musk.
Maybe we could have you make a Twitch account and see you make some cosplay costumes.
Yeah, some Star Trek cosplay costumes while we talk about Star Trek Discovery, and then an ad will come rolling through.
That's right.
So, Musk. His girlfriend is Canadian. She's
Really?
a singer, last name Grimes. Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen pictures of her, but it's kind of scandalous. I mean, Musk is how old? You know, like he's
40
late
something.
40s,
Yeah.
right? And he's dating Grimes. I should Google and tell you exactly how old she is, but let's say early 20s, I think, is roughly where she is. So it's a little bit scandalous, and, you know, he's known for dating beautiful women, and okay, the dude's worth billions. Got it. Well, apparently Grimes had a gig going on with rapper Azealia Banks. And so I don't know if it was Grimes or Musk who invited her to go to his mansion. And, you know, talking to you, Dan, it sounds like in LA, these celebrities often just allow all kinds of people to stay in their mansions with friends and things like that. So I guess that's not crazy to think that Musk would have some rapper in his mansion. Well, she claims that Musk has been tweeting while on app, and that Grimes had to coddle him and help him feel better while he was coming down off of his acid trips.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's kind of crazy. And at first you think, well, I don't know if I believe that. But then there's been all this talk about Musk using sleeping pills for him to sleep at night.
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, and he's even tweeted about it. I think it's Ambien is the name of the sleeping pill he's been tweeting about. And, you know, the board members are concerned about him. They're concerned about his dependence on prescription drugs or non-prescription drugs, if we're talking about other things such as acid and who knows what else. So, and then it kind of makes sense if you look at look at the last month of Musk's tweets. You know, like there was the whistleblower there, and Musk starts slamming him over Twitter, and then stock started dropping. And then there was this Thai soccer team, and Musk came up with his submarine, which, you know, kind of cool, but not really that practical when you actually looked and saw what they were dealing with. And one of the actual rescuers said, "Hey, Musk, I feel like it's just a publicity stunt that you're doing." And I think it really upset Musk that, you know, a guy said, "You're not really trying to save these kids. You're trying to get some publicity." And then he accuses him of being a pedophile because the guy lives in Thailand.
Oh, yeah. Hurt his pride.
Yeah, then all of a sudden, Tesla stocks drop again.
And then he claimed they were going to go private too, right?
Oh, yeah, that was crazy. So that was, I believe, a week and a half ago. And he says, "Hey, by the way, Twitter world, we're going to go private, funding's assured, and we're going to sell at $400 and $420 per share." And all of a sudden, 11% bump. Now, they needed another 11%. They got that close to $420 a share, and it would have been there. Then it turns out that when you start fact-checking, the money wasn't really assured, and Musk likes to do this to get rid of short sellers. Short sellers drive him crazy. These are people who are trying to short sell his stock. They believe it's going to go down, and when they buy a lot, when they short sell, it actually does drag his stock down, and
Really?
that drives him crazy.
Sounds like he's got a lot going on.
He does. He's going through what he calls production hell, getting the Model 3 going. I believe they got to 6,000 Model 3s a week, which is crazy. And by the way, I actually could have gotten my Model 3. I've been on the list for a while. But then there's two reasons why I didn't want to get it. And one of them is the price. I'm waiting for the $35,000 one. But also, I'm worried about quality.
Right.
Like, they're putting out so many cars. He built a tent, for goodness sakes, where they're manufacturing these cars in big, giant tents instead of in a proper manufacturing plant. So,
Wow.
I mean, I'll give him props for getting the numbers out. And, there was a teardown that happened this week where they showed the Model 3 and they actually estimated how much it would cost to actually build. And it sounds like you are getting a bang for your buck. They said that Tesla does not make a dollar. They actually lose money on every Model 3 unless they can sell you up to $44,000. Well, your upgrades take you to 44,000. That's where they say the break even is. They
Right.
even use the term space aged parts and technology. So maybe they're drinking the Musk Kool-Aid, but they're also saying it's a great car. I don't know. I think I'm going to wait another year or two and wait for them to get through production hell.
Well, if you gave me a Tesla, I'd be driving it. I'll tell you that much. And I'm really excited about his plans for Los Angeles. I think just last week he went to a Dodgers game and was so sick of the traffic. He said, I'm going to drill a hole and we're going to make a tunnel that goes right to Dodger Stadium. So he's doing some cool things.
Yeah, you got billions, do it.
Yeah.
Just dig a hole, get your boring company going. They've broken speed records. I really think that's some neat stuff he's doing. When they first came up with the Boring Company, I thought this is not practical. SpaceX is practical. Tesla's practical. The Boring Company, I mean, there's just so much stuff underground. I mean, I live in Edmonton where there's coal mines from 100 and 150 years ago everywhere. And I know this because we build major projects all over this dangerous ground and water. And I mean, there's all kinds of things you need to think about. Apparently, he's doing it.
All right. I'm into it. So that's our show for this week. We're going to try and set up a show once a week and have it released on Thursdays. If you have any questions or comments, or if you want to add to the discussion, you can go ahead and email us at the link below. Thanks so much for tuning in.
See you next week.